I'm Dana, and today I really wanted to talk about music for autistic people because I've been making a lot of quite heavy content and I wanted a fun video, I won't lie. I think this is just going to be a fun one to talk through and talk about. So it's going to be a lot about the music I like and my experience with music and how I feel about music, because a lot of these videos I am just talking about myself and my experiences and what I think, because I really want the discussion to happen. I want these things to be talked about and I can inspire the conversation by making the video and trying to get you guys to comment. So for me, I was like very interested in music from a very early age, and I largely hold my primary school music teacher to like thank for that, because I was in choir with her and she was just one of those people that really, it didn't matter if you were doing something good, didn't matter if you were a good singer, if you were a good musician, if you were on rhythm, it just mattered that you were like making a noise and making music and having a good time. And I really loved that. It really inspired me. And I think it was probably because of her that I got a guitar for Christmas when I was maybe 6 or 7. I always really liked the idea of making music, and as a young child I also sang a lot. I'd make up my own little songs, and it's one of those things that my family noticed and sort of called me out for, and I felt very self-conscious of it. And as I've gotten older and found out I'm autistic and the like, I realised like, oh, I was just vocal stimming all the time. And one of the big things that I remember is that I used to beg my mother to put on the Spice Girls. It's kind of embarrassing now, but we had like one Spice Girls CD and a couple of compilation albums. We had like Gay with Billie Piper and Geri Halliwell and that kind of thing on it, a lot of Aqua. It was just a good time in my house. And it was very, very rare that my mother did it because she was always busy and my childhood wasn't fantastic. But I would beg and beg and beg her to put the CD on. We had like quite a big sound system. This is like 2003 to 2008 kind of thing. So we had like one of those gigantic sound systems, like the record player and the tape player and the CD player and the speakers. And I'd beg and beg and beg her to put the music on. And then I'd just dance and jump around my living room, which also pissed her off for the most part from what I remember. But that's literally what I do now to do like a big stim. When I need like a big full body stim, I put on really loud music, which is also basically a stim. And I just dance around, I jump about, I just get it all out. And it's literally exactly what I wanted to do a lot as a child, but I wasn't given the safe space to do so. I wasn't allowed to. So that was like my earliest experiences with music. I really wish that I could make it sound like I was really into cool music from the very start. But to be completely honest with you, the first CD I ever bought was the Pussycat Dolls, the one that had Don't You on it. And the first musician I ever saw live was John Barrowman in 2011. And quite frankly, calling John Barrowman a musician is a bit of a stretch. In my teen years, I think that was when I realised that most people sort of have like a genre that they listen to and they have like their music. And I tried real hard to find mine. I spent a good long while listening to like Demi Lovato and the Jonas Brothers and Selena Gomez and Hannah Montana because I was a little girl growing up in the noughties. It's one of those things I used to be like so humiliated over, and now I'm like, I was a kid and I was having a good time. And in between all of that, I for some reason also got into My Chemical Romance. Like, I remember having like a LimeWire playlist where it would literally be like Hannah Montana, the Jonas Brothers, Black Parade. It was a time to be alive. I really loved Tom Felton's music for a long while, and a lot of musical theatre songs. I really liked musical theatre. I still really like musical theatre. I was also always quite influenced by the music that my brothers listened to, because like they had their own sound systems and their own money to buy CDs and whatever else, so they listened to a lot more music than I did because they're 8 and 9 years older than I am. So I heard all sorts coming out of their room, and on the occasion I would sit and listen, or I'd try and steal CDs sometimes. And they were very into like Korn and Slipknot, and Weird Al Yankovic was a big one in my house. Everyone in my family loved Weird Al. My middle brother was more into like Cascada and Bass Hunter and things like that. So I was just sort of exposed to a lot of different genres. My dad really loved Pavarotti and a lot of orchestra stuff, opera, just typical old man music, sorry. And my mum's music taste is a lot more similar to mine. She really liked like David Bowie, T-Rex, Rod Stewart, the Beatles, Elvis. And once I was hitting maybe, I want to say 14, 15, maybe a little younger. It was just before I moved back to the UK from Denmark, basically, was when I sort of started to get into what I thought of at the time as real music. I was one of those kids, you know it. I wasn't like other girls, and I listened to real music, okay? And it started off with me following in the footsteps of my mum's Elvis obsession, but he pretty quickly bored me, to be honest. I watched some of his films and I just couldn't really get into them, and I didn't really like him. So my next little drop off was the Beatles, because that was like the next big band that my mum had on record, because I robbed all of her vinyls. And I got real into the Beatles. The Beatles were my hyperfixation throughout like my teen years. I absolutely love the Beatles. It's one of them where like a lot of people think that I'm from Liverpool because I speak like this, but I grew up in Stoke and then in Denmark, and then we moved to Liverpool when I was 16. So it blows my mind to this day when I'm out and about in town or whatever, and I see like the Magical Mystery Tour bus, or I'm just like, oh, I need to take this shortcut, oh, there's the cavern. It still blows my mind. It's still fucking wild to me. I love the Beatles. So I really wanted to get into like that whole like strain of things really, but I very quickly realised that I don't really like the Rolling Stones and Jerry and the Pacemakers and the Kinks. Like, none of it's bad, and they all have like one or two songs I really like, but I just didn't really get super into them. So I just sort of continued dabbling around until I found Bowie. I immediately fell in love with David Bowie when I was about 14, 15, and it was just straight away. I had to watch Labyrinth, I had to watch The Man Who Fell to Earth, I had to listen to like every song of his that I could find. Just fully fell in love, and still to this day is one of my absolute favourite musicians. You know, like his music just really does not get old. So I pretty much just kept with the Beatles, Bowie, and a little bit of the Ramones. I forgot to mention the Ramones because I listened to a lot of the Ramones, but I never like delved into like their lives or their backstory or their history as a band or anything. I don't really know anything about them, to be honest with you, other than that they started in CBGBs. I just listened to them quite a lot and watched the Rock and Roll High School. Then I turned 16 and we moved to Liverpool, and I met my ex-partner, and I was desperate to look cool because he was older than me, and I was like, oh my god, I need to be like the cool girl that listens to all of the cool music. And that was when I started to get more into like rock and metal. I'm never gonna be a metal person. I'm not really into metal. I like the odd Korn song essentially. But that was when I really started my delve into like 90s rock. That was when I got into like Nirvana and the Foo Fighters and Garbage and Alanis Morissette and Bikini Kill and the Melvins and Mudhoney. You know, I just really like delved into all of that shit. And then that like wealth of music gave me so much more to expand off of, to like look at other people's careers within that, and I've just sort of stuck with them, to be honest. So that was where I like started listening to Chris Shiflett's solo stuff from Foo Fighters and being like, holy shit, maybe I do like a bit of country after all. And that brings us up to more recently, where my taste has kind of gotten a lot more eclectic, I think. I'd say the last like 4 years, because no one really like fully remembers all the music they've ever listened to. I've definitely missed off a load of stuff that I really liked at one point because I just don't really remember it anymore. Over the last like 4 years or so, where I've like had a Spotify and gotten Spotify Wrapped and everything, I think my music taste has definitely gotten more eclectic and diverse. And I think so much of it is that I've just gone out looking for things that I like listening to. You know, I haven't tried to be cool and listen to what my brothers listen to, or be cool and listen to what this guy will like, and be cool and listen to what this guy's friends are gonna like, you know. I just plugged all of that in, and I've just really been trying to search for things that I enjoy. And it's been kind of hard, but a lot of fun. Because it's one of them, I really hate where people are like, oh, no new music gets made anymore, man, like real music's in the past. I despise it. There's so many incredible musicians and bands making music right now that they're releasing, but I do think that it's kind of hard to find, you know? Like, I know we've got the internet at our fingertips and whatever, but I still think it can be quite hard to find new stuff, you know? Like, there's just the same things being pushed at you a lot of the time. But I've definitely started listening to, like, more genres, because I definitely still listen to a lot of, like, the Beatles and Garbage and Nirvana. I won't lie to you, I still haven't listened to the Foo Fighters since Taylor died. But a lot of David Bowie, got real into Queen at one point. I love Queen. But, you know, like, I've also added a lot of other things to that. Like, it's kind of embarrassing now. I had a Grimes phase. I had a Grimes phase where I really fucking liked her. There was 4 AM I especially liked, and We Appreciate Power, and a couple of others. And I no longer listen to Grimes for many a reason that I'm not going to go into in this video. But that is a little bit embarrassing, but you know. And then from there, she did a collaboration with Ashniko, and I really like Ashniko. I've been listening to a lot of them. I'm not sure how to say some of these names on it live, but Daddy Freya, the guy that entered for Eurovision for like Iceland, I've been listening to a lot of him. I really love his stuff. I've gotten quite into Auto Heart after a recommendation from a friend. I've been listening to some of the Viagra Boys after a recommendation from someone else. I've gotten much more into Cardi B and Run DMC than I ever expected to be. But the thing for me is that in the last few years, I've found it really difficult to get into artists over songs. You know, like I very rarely listen to an album anymore. My entire Spotify playlist is just literally like 1,600 songs that I've enjoyed at any point in my life. And especially recently, like when you go down into like when I first got Spotify, it's like Nirvana, Foo Fighters, Garbage. Whereas now it's literally like one song from each band, not those bands from like new ones and new musicians. And it's things like fuck it, I'll just put a little screenshot of my playlist here. It's songs like this. This is the kind of stuff I've been listening to lately. And it's because in the last few years I've realised exactly how much I use music as a stim. And in the last few months especially, I've realised just how much music can affect my mood and change my mood and lift my mood or lower my mood. You know, it can do so much for me mentally. And it can be a huge motivator, you know. That's why I do big stims with loud music, because like the music really motivates me. And especially having it loud and being in control of that's really great. But it was like a few days ago specifically that I was walking, and I always listen to music while I walk. I hate not having music on when I'm having to walk somewhere. And I realised that like the way my brain processes music, it does literally sound different sometimes, you know? Like a few months ago I had a massive Alanis phase again. Like all I was listening to was Alanis Morissette. Because it just sounded so fucking good to me, you know? I just really, really enjoyed listening to it. Every lyric, every note, everything about it just hit right where it should. It sounded so good. And then I had a few months where I just didn't really listen to her that much because it's the same song. It sounds the same. I know that it does. I know it's the same recording. But for me and the way that I'm processing it, it just doesn't sound the same. It doesn't sound as complex. It doesn't sound as beautiful. It just doesn't have the same vibe at all anymore. And it's really quite bizarre. And then the other day, an Alanis song came on. It was back. The magic was back and it was incredible again. And that was like what like kick-started in my head that this has happened so many times over my life. And there's been a lot of times that like I've been using LimeWire and things, so I haven't had every song I've ever liked laid out for me to have it come back up so I could re-remember and rehear it and be, oh, the magic's back. You know, I just haven't had that opportunity before really. And it really makes me wonder if other autistic people are experiencing that and what you experience it with. I'd really love some music recommendations from this video that other autistic people are enjoying. You know, and that happens with lots of different things. Like, one of my favourite Korn songs is All in the Family. And there's some days where I listen to that and I'm like, oh my God, you know, it sounds so like guttural and raw and like I can feel it in my chest and it's such a good song. And there's other days I listen to it and I'm like, it's just some dude shouting, like shit, I don't get it. You know, it's the same thing with rap. Like I was saying, I've been really into Cardi B and sometimes I'll listen to her and be like, holy shit, this flow is incredible. Like the rhythm, the beat, I could never, it's so cool, it's so good. And other times I'll listen to her and I'm like, she's talking really fast over some music and it's very impressive, but it's doing nothing for me. You know, whereas other times I'm like, oh my God, this is so cool and it's so good. And like, it almost feels like sometimes her voice is like leading my ear, like I'm waiting constantly for the next thing she's gonna do or say because the song's so good. And other times I can listen to that exact same song and it's just not there. And I really don't get it. It's really quite weird to me. And it's just odd. And I also noticed, I'm sorry, this video is getting kind of long and it wasn't meant to be this long, but I noticed in 2019, I got to go on holiday to a hot country for the first time in my life. I went to Turkey and it was incredible. And I was walking around there listening to music and I realised that like my playlist wasn't appropriate, you know? And I mean, I guess, you know, it was a big change in environment and everything. So I feel like that's maybe something everyone has, you know, lots of people make like a holiday playlist, but like there were songs that I'd been waiting to listen to because I don't like listening to music around other people. It's quite like a personal, private experience for me. So I'd been waiting to go out on my own and listen to specific songs without being around like my partner and everything. And when I listened to them, I was just like, this is so anticlimactic, you know? Like, it's not doing anything for me. I really don't care. This could be any song on like one of the radios in a shop, you know? I don't care. And there were other songs that I hadn't thought of in years or that I hadn't heard in a really long time that I was suddenly listening to on repeat that I absolutely loved. And even like I suddenly became fucking obsessed with Dead Mom from Beetlejuice. I love Beetlejuice the musical, don't get me wrong, but that song had never been one of my favourites. I always go for the more Beetlejuice heavy fun ones. And yet suddenly I was just obsessed with Dead Mom. It just sounded beautiful and perfect, and it hasn't sounded that good since. So yeah, that was my entirely pointless video about me and my music taste and what music I like and how I've experienced music. And right at the end here, I do want to be very, very clear that I'm not trying to pretend like my music taste is the only music taste or I have the better music taste or whatever else. You know, I am very, very much over gatekeeping or shitting on people for music taste or whatever else. You know, music is so subjective and such a beautiful thing. Whatever you listen to is fucking fab. Whatever you listen to and enjoy, I fully encourage you to listen to even more of it. I used to be that person that you listen to One Direction. If you listen to another, you listen to One Direction, honey. Fucking enjoy it. Why not? You know, music's a great thing. Any sort of art is a great thing, and we should all just enjoy whatever the fuck we enjoy when it comes to it. Fuck anyone else's opinions of it. You love what you love, and I very much support that. So I would love to hear about what you love in the comments. I'd love to hear about what your relationship with music's like, how you grew up with music, what you think about music, how you feel about music, anything about music. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to shout at you. But yeah, I make videos twice a week I keep going to say Mondays. I don't make videos on Mondays. I mean, I film them on Mondays. It's probably because today's Monday. That's probably why I keep saying it. But I post videos twice a week on Tuesdays and Fridays at 4:30 p.m. UK time. My links will all be down below to like TikTok and Ko-fi if you wanted to donate a coffee to me, because I've been going out to get coffee to edit lately. That's my new thing now. I edit and then have a park walk with a coffee. I feel very bougie and sophisticated, so if you wanted to pay for my coffee while I edit these videos, you can. You don't have to. I am technically encouraging you to by telling you it's there, but I'm not like encouraging you as in like, you know, I can afford my own coffee. It's cheap, it's fine. I'm still going to edit the videos whether you pay me for them or not. It's all right. So whoever you are, wherever you are, I hope you're having a lovely morning, evening, day, afternoon, week, month, year. And I'll see you again in a couple of days.